Esther, baby! Come on!
You're on par! Punch it.
Thank you.
Nice, guys.
Boom shot.
Hey guys, so I have recently finished the 4 marathons in 4 weeks, and I would like to share with you some of my experiences about that. I've come to sit outside today because you know what, it's so nice to not be rained on for a change. Let me just embrace it quickly. This London winter has been something else, and I think like the last 5 runs I've been absolutely soaked. So nice to catch a little bit of sneaky vitamin D when it's really on offer these days. But yeah, regarding the 4 marathons in 4 weeks, honestly, it's something that I probably would not recommend. Do not try it at home. It's an experience that I'll never forget. You know what, I lost a whole lot of fitness, I feel, throughout the 4 weeks. But at the same time, I definitely don't regret doing it. I would go back and do it again in a heartbeat. Marathon majors is what I live for. International marathons is what I live for. So to do 4 different marathons in 4 different countries, 3 of which were marathon majors, was just incredible. And yeah, just to remind you about how those races went. So Berlin Marathon was the first one. I did that in 2:20 and 8 seconds. I was trying to target a sub 2:20. So 8 seconds off was a hard one to take, but at the same time it was a 51-second PB. I finished 49th overall, so I was pretty happy with the way the race went. Obviously it could have been just a little sweeter, but hey, it keeps me motivated, that's for sure. And then the next week I did London Marathon, and I ran with a pack, and in particular Anya Culling. She finished in 2:36. Well, we both finished in 2:36. She was the 2nd British female overall, and yeah, what an incredible experience. In fact, I'll put the link into that YouTube video we did of London Marathon, because what a fun day that was. I just embraced the crowds. It was incredible, and one I'll never forget as well. And then moving on to the next week was Chicago Marathon. So the plan was to pace a sub 2:40 pack. Well, actually, I decided to, I felt like I had an outside chance at sub 2:20, so I wanted to perhaps give it a good go. I went hard from the start and quickly realized that reality smacked me in the face, and realized it wasn't possible to race pretty much all out marathons within 3 weeks of each other. So I held back and then paced a friend, Vinny, and a group, and yeah, they finished in sub 2:40. I finished in 2:41. The reason why is because the elite start went off 2 minutes earlier. But yeah, what a fun race that was. And then the last one was Cape Town Marathon. So Cape Town Marathon, I was just happy to get through the finish line. That was really quite tough. I think it all just caught up to me in the end, but I finished in 2:39, and my overall racing distance over the 4 weeks was 168.8 kilometers for the 4 marathons. The average, or the overall running time, was 10 hours 37 minutes and 17 seconds, and the average run pace was 3 hours 39 seconds. So if you average that over a marathon, that's an average marathon of 2:34. So pretty much average 2:34 marathon pace throughout the 4 marathons, which I'm really happy with. I didn't know what to expect, so had you given me that at the start, I would have taken it. Came out injury free. Pretty much the only niggle I had was my hamstring was getting progressively tighter in my right leg as the races went on. So apart from that, yeah, everything was good, and I think I could have fitted in a few more. Physically, I don't know so much mentally, but yeah, I'd like to share with you my favorite parts, my favorite races. I want to compare them all, and then some of the tougher parts in the whole journey.
Yes, Nick, keep going, boy. It's all you, Nick, it's all you.
Okay, so some of the hardest parts of the experiments, honestly, I think the hardest part was the mental side of things. Physically, I could handle it. Physically, the training for me was tougher than the racing. I was averaging very close to 100-mile weeks in the 8-week blocks, and my longer runs were at probably a little bit more of the intensity that I was running the international marathons at. I felt like the marathons, you had a vibe, support, nutrition en route, water points, stuff like that, which helped. Whereas long runs, you don't get to do that. So that's the physical side of things was actually okay. But yeah, you know, when you do sort of push yourself week in, week out, it takes a whole lot of mental energy out on you. And I quickly realized, I think at the start of Chicago Marathon, where I got into the elite start, I was doing a few strides, and then it was about a minute to go until the race. And I just looked at the people were buzzing around me, like vibing, ready to go. And I just thought, like, I feel tired. Like, I don't have that buzz that I should be having. And that's when I realized, actually, you know, to do this week in, week out, of course you're going to get tired. So that was sort of like a sign that, oh, okay, you know, today could be a bit more of a struggle than I thought. But yeah, I think another thing that was really tough was the jet lag between the countries. So obviously, I think the hardest part was going from Chicago Marathon. I was there on the Monday, and I adjusted to US time zones, to coming back to London, and then I flew from Chicago on the Monday, landed in London on the Tuesday. I then flew to South Africa on the Wednesday, where I landed in Johannesburg on the Thursday. Then I had to fly to Cape Town on the Friday, went to the Expo on Saturday, and raced Cape Town Marathon on the Sunday. So by the time the Cape Town Marathon start came, I was like a piece of toast. I was like, if they cancelled the marathon and said everyone sleep for 2 days, I think I would have been, you know, over the moon. So yeah, I think that was really tough to just pretty much pick yourself up, get going again, because naturally you fatigue, tired, and stuff like that. Another thing that was quite a struggle was the loss of time, because you're obviously losing time going to airports. Pretty much when you fly, it's almost your whole day written off, and then it's the flight time, and then it's almost the next whole day written off when you're landing. So just lost a whole lot of time, obviously trying to get the business off the ground at the same time. So it was a lot of pressures, family commitments, you know, packing, unpacking, all that sort of stuff. So that sort of caught up to me a little bit as well. And then lastly, one of the really hardest things was that I started getting stomach issues towards the end. You know what? I think you'll know if you've raced quite a few times that when you have a lot of like drink mixes and gels, it tends to like curdle in your stomach a little bit, and you probably need a few days to detox it and stuff like that. So by doing that 4 weeks in a row, I think my body was just like, Nick, what is going on? And yeah, I started really getting tummy issues from just before Chicago. So Chicago, I ran in quite a bit of pain. I couldn't really stomach anything on the route. And that carried on all the way through to Cape Town Marathon. After a few weeks break and getting the body back to normal, that quickly stabilized. But yeah, I think had I done a few more, my body definitely would have rejected a whole lot of stuff. So I was glad to see the back of it after 4. Okay, so some of my favorite parts about the 4 marathons. I think the first one has to come right at the beginning, before they all started at Berlin Marathon. I was warming up next to Kipchoge, the GOAT himself, and I managed to sneak in a fist pump, and yeah, that was really just such a surreal moment for me, something I'll treasure forever. And that sort of like kick-started the 4 marathons in 4 weeks. So that was such a cool part. He's just got this aura about him, and he's just super humble. Even in person, he was like shy coming around me. I was like, how can you be shy? You know, you are the greatest of all time. And yeah, it was amazing to see him in action and get that fist pump in before he went on to break the world record. It's just made it more and more special. Another amazing time was just London Marathon in general, running with Anya. Obviously, I've coached her for quite some time now, and seeing her progression, helping her through it. Obviously, she's putting in the work, but playing a key part in getting her to where she's got to today has just been incredible. So to run, you know, next to her, around her, in front of her at London Marathon, and see her, you know, finish in 2:36, pretty much knocking off almost 2 hours from her marathon time 3 years ago, which was 4:34, was just so incredible to see. And yeah, I've obviously seen the work that she's put into it. So to see it all play out in front of my eyes was just incredible, having worked closely with her for the last few years. And another amazing moment was seeing Taryn and Hayley with 1K to go in London Marathon. Giving them a little kiss on the cheek was really cool. You know, my experiences of London Marathon, it's definitely probably my favorite marathon, but I've had tough times there the last few years. So to actually enjoy that last kilometer this time, and, you know, have a few seconds to give them a kiss and soak it all up, was just special. And then the last one has to be at Cape Town Marathon because my family came and watched me there. So yeah, it was really cool to have family support. They obviously back in South Africa, me being based in London, they don't get to see me run a lot of the time. So it was the first race my mom actually came and watched. So it was really, really cool to see her en route. Even though it was struggle city towards the end, it kind of got me through that last little bit, and that was really, really cool. So those were some of the moments that I'll treasure over the 4 weeks. Okay, so now time to compare the marathons. So I'm going to compare them when it comes to fastest route, favorite route, biggest crowds, and best vibe. So first one, fastest route, I've got to say Berlin Marathon. That probably comes as no surprise given the fact that the world record was run there, Kipchoge 2:01:09, the same race that I did this year. And you know what? I think the elevation gain between Berlin Marathon and Chicago is fairly similar. I think somewhere between 60 and 80 meters or so. But Berlin Marathon, I would say, is a little bit quicker because the roads are so wide and open and the surface is smooth the whole way. So really is well marked out and super, super speedy. If you're targeting a fast marathon and want to get a marathon major at the same time, Berlin Marathon's your answer. Okay, favorite route, you know what, for me that has to be London Marathon. I've living in London for the last 6 years. I absolutely love the city. It's so iconic to me as well. So to run past, you know, some of the icons that you see, like Big Ben, the Eye along the river, Buckingham Palace, the Mall, all of that's just super special. So yeah, London Marathon I think will always be probably my favorite marathon until I die. It really, really is a special one. Biggest crowds and biggest crowd support. So this one's a bit of a tricky one. I would have to say it's probably a tie between Chicago and London Marathon. I think Chicago, there were probably more supporters. Those American crowds were something else. It was the first time I'd ever raced in America. So it was amazing to see, you know, those American people go absolutely crazy for the runners. I was wearing a South African vest that day and I got a lot of South African support, which was pretty cool. But London Marathon is the other one. You know what? I think because I was getting the crowds hyped so much, going, yeah, come on. That was just so super cool. And to get a reaction from the crowd, pretty much from, you know, the 500,000 of people that were supporting. I try to make it a point to recognize everyone that shouted my name. That just added fuel to the fire. And yeah, the crowd support was off the level. So pretty much Chicago, London, biggest crowd support of the two. Best vibe, you know what I'm going to say. For me, once again, London Marathon. You know what? I think just because I was soaking up the crowd that day. So yeah, London Marathon I want to do pretty much every year that I can, and highly recommend if you haven't done it before.
Looking strong, Nick. So close, buddy.
Okay, and finally onto the question that I've been getting quite a lot. Do I think Cape Town Marathon has potential to be a marathon major? I know they're considering adding it as a marathon major in 2025. Personally, I think that they've got quite a lot of work to do. I obviously absolutely love Cape Town. It's a world-class city. As far as the marathon goes, the support was minimal, to be honest. I get that the other three marathons were marathon majors. Perhaps if they add Cape Town as a marathon major, there will be a whole lot more support. But to be honest, apart from the water points, there was just, you know, a handful of people here and there. So the support was really not near the level of support that I got from the other three. Another point to note is that the distances weren't really clearly marked for me. In the other races, they were super clear. You could check your times against the distance. And Cape Town Marathon, I mean, I'm sure they were there. I probably saw it only every 5Ks, and sometimes I missed them. So they just weren't really clear enough for me. And a lot of other runners I spoke to felt the same. And the other thing to note is that the course was quite tough. Obviously, it's tougher than the other three. The elevation gain, I think, was around 275 meters, which is actually not too dissimilar from Boston Marathon and New York Marathon, which, you know, obviously are marathon majors. However, the one thing I would say is that the pulls and the uphills in Cape Town Marathon were long pulls. They weren't those ups and downs where you can sort of like make up times. There were those long gradual pulls. And I felt that, you know what, going up there, you lose a lot of time, and then you're so fatigued at the top that even on the downhills, you can't really make that time up. So you're sort of just bleeding time and not making time up. So I think they might need to tweak the route a little bit, get a few more people out to support, perhaps attract more elites by adding a bit of prize money. But who knows? I really hope it gets there. I love the race. I love the city, and in 2025, if it's a major, you bet I'll be back. But yeah, if you have any other questions about the races that I did, pop them in the comments below, and I'll get them answered. That's my experience, and no regrets, but definitely something I will not be doing again. Peace out. Okay, so some of my favorite parts about the 4 marathons. I think the first one has to come right at the beginning, before they all started at Berlin Marathon. I was warming up next to Kipchoge, the GOAT himself, and I managed to sneak in a fist pump, and yeah, that was really just such a surreal moment for me, something I'll treasure forever. And that sort of like kickstarted the 4 marathons in 4 weeks. So that was such a cool part. He's just got this aura about him, and he's just super humble. Even in person, he was like shy coming around me. I was like, how can you be shy? You know, you are the greatest of all time. And yeah, it was amazing to see him in action, and get that fist pump in before he went on to break the world record. It's just made it more and more special. Another amazing time was just London Marathon in general, running with Anya. Obviously, I've coached her for quite some time now, and seeing her progression, helping her through it. Obviously, she's putting in the work, but playing a key part in getting her to where she's got to today has just been incredible. So to run, you know, next to her, around her, in front of her at London Marathon, and see her, you know, finish in 2:36, pretty much knocking off almost 2 hours from her marathon time 3 years ago, which was 4:34, was just so incredible to see. And yeah, I've obviously seen the work that she's put into it, so to see it all play out in front of my eyes was just incredible, having worked closely with her for the last few years. And another amazing moment was seeing Taryn and Hayley with 1K to go in London Marathon. Giving them a little kiss on the cheek was really cool. You know, my experiences of London Marathon, it's definitely probably my favorite marathon, but I've had tough times there the last few years, so to actually enjoy that last kilometer this time, and, you know, have a few seconds to give them a kiss and soak it all up, was just special. And then the last one